Good morning. It's yet another day, Wednesday, day 9 of October 2019. Welcome aboard. This is Newday, Kenya. You are on time. We are on air, and lovely to have you this Wednesday morning.
His name is Ayub Sheikh Abdul Qadir. My name is Alida Alela. It's a beautiful morning, and we're right here, not just on air, but of course, here to ensure that you are updated on what is happening. And most importantly, as we take a look at candid discussions that, of course, affect you and me. So welcome on board. Always a pleasure to have you joining us.
And of course, they do include the discussion later we'll be having on the roundtable. It pertains, of course, the 2019 Punguza Mizigo Bill of the Third Way Alliance Party of Kenya's Daktari Ekuru Okot.
Yesterday must have been the biggest nightmare for them, you know, like just getting
Four
county assemblies.
Yes.
Is quite unfortunate. A clear indication that maybe Punguza Mizigo is not headed for the right direction in this particular case. Maybe most of the people sort of feel like, well, it's not the ultimate solution to the problems that we're facing as a country. Hence, it will not be that proposal that will take us to a referendum. Will the BBI do that? We can only wait to see.
Of course, later we'll be talking to the panelists on board who will be giving us their perspectives and sentiments with regard to that and why it's happening so with regards to especially the backyards of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the opposition chief Raila Odinga.
And of course, later on the broadcast, that is towards the last minutes of the program, we'll be taking a look at, of course, the girl child and how much we are out here to ensure that we get to save them. In regards to this, I'll be taking you through, so make sure that you keep it right here. I will be on the main set, of course, with the panel, discussing matters politics, discussing matters Punguza Mizigo. Indeed, a conversation that you do not want to miss out on. Hashtag NewDayKE is how you can get to us. The SMS short code 40920.
And before we cue the headlines, and maybe what likely looks like a tear gas Wednesday. Initially, it was a tear gas Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
So the ODM party says it will head to the IEBC offices at the anniversary towers in Nairobi. They want an updated register of the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission.
As many would ask, are they starting with the litigation game that they were playing? Remember in 2017, I know sometimes it's like, politically, I don't know whether that is right. We'll be getting it from the panel, because then there's that argument that sometimes when you come out with all these litigations, it sounds as though you have a feeling that you're going to lose. So you're preparing the ground to, you know, of course, first of all, ensure that your supporters understand this, and technically also preparing the ground to hit the courts. But then again, we can only wait to see. But equally, I think it's a right, democratic right, that IEBC, you know, presents this, so that at least everyone is clear even as they go to the ballot. All
right, we'll of course seek the assertions of our able panel later on the program regarding that and why the likes of Junet Mohammed, John Buddy and Gladys Wanga yesterday vowed in Parliament during a presser that they will head to the IEBC offices to seek clarification of the updated register of the IEBC regarding the forthcoming Kibra parliamentary by-elections. But first, before we do that,
let's take a look at the headlines. Front page of the Standard newspaper, Raila, 4 MPs wanted by DCI in car tax probe.
On the Daily Nation, a continuation of yesterday's story, when the police become gangsters. All right, the hashtag on Twitter is NewDayKE. The short SMS code is 40920. The number is 0791 478 990. So we take a look at the daily newspapers here. At the up top of the Daily Nation on the front page, which is equally expanded on page 6 of the paper, Kupet now wants the grade 6 pupils to sit the national examinations, and the high school teachers now say elimination of the test is a mistake since it will help during placement when learners transition to junior secondary under the new competency-based curriculum CBC, and a picture of Akelo Missouri, who is the section of the organization. On the main headline, though, or the highlight, it does pertain, of course, what we also covered yesterday regarding the police and the allegations of extrajudicial killings. Crime, the nation can now list up to 600 active cases involving the boys in blue since January 2019. And the main headline does read, when the police become gangsters. And you should be worried because the National Police Service Commission, NPSC, says or has warned the public to be on the lookout for a criminal who is armed and dangerous. But what should worry Kenyans more is that the suspect is a police officer who has gone wrong. You can read that story and much more on page 4 and 5 expanded. But statistically, 48 is the number of officers who have been arrested and charged in court for various crimes over the last 5 weeks, and 120 is the number of police officers who have been sacked for gross misconduct since the beginning of 2019. And this is an equally important element which featured yesterday in, of course, the hearing of the gruesome murder of lawyer Willie Kimani, his client Josephat Mwenda, and taxi driver Joseph Moiruri, and how that again has brought about the issue of discipline within the police force, the need for reforms, and of course, notwithstanding or vividly recalling Nahashon Mutua, who was sentenced to death for the killing of an inmate who died in custody here in the capital, Nairobi, and need for a debate on the police and why there needs to be an urgent solution to the problems which continue to happen among the boys in blue and black. Well, on the next page of the Daily Nation, new rules on church donations as Catholics now wage war on graft. Another again, what might likely spark or political debate in the country regarding the church donations. And this has been a hot topic politically in the country. Accusations, of course, do fall when you hear such topic on the Deputy President William Ruto, who said at no point will he stop the donations he does give in churches across the country, and that he does so because of the call of Christianity, and that it will help establish the church as institutions that have a say in the society or sway in the society. And of course, much again has been challenged on the churches or the institutions in the country of religious institutions. Of course, notwithstanding Kenya is not a theocracy, but Kenya is a secular state, a constitutional democracy for that matter. But there are questions on the vacuum left aside by the institutions of religion in the country and why they are unable to match up to what the church and the mosques achieved or managed to get in the years or the build-up to the 1992 multi-party elections, and in the process to that between 1986 and 1992, when they questioned the, of course, legitimacy of the KANU regime under then Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, and why that influence has dwindled in contemporary 2019, and the need for the religious institutions to establish themselves and have that influence regain that faith in the public which has dwindled in the build-up to a possible referendum with regards to the fever currently and the 2022 general elections in the event the law is not changed. Later, of course, we'll have these sentiments, and the cartoon edition of the day is in line with that and again establishes why the church again says there's need to cap that, and you can make the donations via M-Pesa and Visa card, which again has brought about another dynamic in the essence of the liquidity with regards to the debate, with regards to the politics at the pulpit, and the need to ban politicians from, of course, speaking politics or talking politics in the houses of God. On the Star newspaper, the main headline does read matters regarding Kibra, of course, all matters that pertain to the by-elections forthcoming slated for the 7th of November 2019, and why President Uhuru Kenyatta appears to be appeasing both Raila Odinga and the Deputy President William Ruto. He has quietly been talking to the ANC leader, equally Musalia Mudavadi, who jetted into the country, but again questioned the coming together of the President and the opposition chief Raila Odinga, saying that it was necessitated by foreign pressure with regards to visa cancellations and the immediate aftermath effect that could have had on members of the political establishment in the country, and why again the Kibra parliamentary by-elections are at the pivotal point or at the epicenter of what is likely going to be a possible fallout or fracture in the ruling Jubilee Party, or one that threatens the political bromance between the opposition chief Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta, and why the ODM party now says today, Wednesday, they will be demonstrating and will head to the IEBC offices to seek clarification on the updated voter register of Kibra constituency ahead of the by-election, and why there seems to be some suspicious regarding that later. Of course, our panel will give us their take on that. Before I cross on to the other side of the studio, coming to Linda, I'll later be coming here to brief you up to speed with the latest development with regards to Brexit and, of course, the standoff over the Northern Irish border and the recent proposal, which is the latest made by the United Kingdom government to the European Union, and the call from Brussels with regards to a tweet that I'll show here from the European Commission President Donald Tusk, who has taken the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson head-on regarding the flip-floppy nature of the political development in Westminster in the UK capital, London. But before that, Linda is standing by on the other end of the studio, ready to bring us up to speed, and you too, with regards to what our team managed to put up together as of yesterday, Tuesday evening. Linda.
Thank you so much, Sheikh, and straight to it. And of course, yesterday, hours after being rejected by the Nakuru County Assembly, Third Way Alliance leader Ikuru Court received another shocker with Nairobi and Makueni counties rejecting his Punguza Mizigo bill. Now, the three now joins 7 other counties that have already shot down the bill, presenting a new headache for our court.
What began for Ikuru Court as a normal day of his shuttle to various counties to popularize his constitutional amendment bill, which he says ought to reduce the baggage for Kenyans.
We want to make sure that every Kenyan is on that dining table, enjoying the dinner, not to be on the dining table to be eaten as dinner.
Turned to be a day full of baggage of his own, receiving a triple blow with Nairobi, Nakuru and Makueni counties rejecting his Punguza Mizigo bill. It all started with Nakuru.
The committee therefore recommends that the House disapproves the Punguza Mizigo Constitutional Amendment Bill 2019.
Then Makueni.
That this Assembly adopts the report of the ADA Committee considering the Punguza Mizigo.
And finally, the capital threw the final punch, further sinking Okolt's already drowning constitutional amendment boat. Nairobi and Makueni disagreed with the court on proposals in the bill which they termed as impractical and contentious.
The promotion of representation of the marginalized groups may not be achieved. Clause 8 on the third gender rule.
Nakuru, on its part,
the committee has taken note of pertinent issues raised and observed that it is a populistic initiative,
saying the bill by your court is largely populist,
to win favor with ordinary Kenyans, while in reality it offers nothing meaningful in terms of substance and process.
But as all the punches were being thrown at him, Okot was in Meru County, where he continued with his tirade.
The public participation going on in Meru right now, is deliberately being distorted. They are misleading the members of the public about the content of the bill.
Over a section of leaders whom he said are hoodwinking the public.
They are not allowing members of the public to actually give their own views. They are being asked leading questions, which are very negative in nature, so as to create the impression that members of the public have rejected the bill.
The former presidential candidate accusing peddlers of the Ugatuzi initiative and the Building Bridges initiative.
There is no any other bill that's on the table for debate other than the Punguza Mizigo
of stealing his show.
For you to debate a bill, any bill seeking to amend the Constitution of Kenya, there is a process one must follow.
Makueni, Nakuru and Nairobi now joins other counties such as Kiambu, Nakuru, Nyeri, Siaya, Homa Bay, Murang'a and Kirinyaga that have already shot down the bill, presenting a new headache for Okot. Uasin Gishu is the only county that has since passed the bill. Now this presents a major hurdle for Okot, who requires 24 counties to assent to the bill in order for it to be tabled in Parliament and consequently result in a referendum.
In the whole of Nakuru, a woman and a man. See whether you have gone.
Now, the government wants you to celebrate Moi Day with selfless acts of service that seek to promote patriotism, national unity, social justice, cohesion, and sustainable development. Interior CS Fred Matiang'i confirmed that this Thursday, the 10th of this month, indeed is a public holiday, and he wants you to observe the day in your communities for the benefit of present and future generations.
Daniel Arap Moi ruled the country for a cool 24 years. And in his 10th year of reign, his government introduced Moi Day to celebrate the achievements made by the father of peace, love and unity. However, in an apparent shift, the holiday was scrapped off during the making of the new 2010 constitution, perhaps as a way of protesting the high-handedness of the former president. And further, the majority of the people who participated in the constitution-making process were his critics and would not have wanted to have him honored in any way. Intrigues were to follow the holiday when in 2017, the High Court in Nairobi affirmed that the 10th of October remains a public holiday, a decision that the government has agreed to obey, albeit with hesitation. Last year, the Cabinet Secretary for Internal Security, Fred Matiang'i, seems to have accepted the decision to observe the holiday half-heartedly, as he claimed that the country was still an emerging economy that needed to optimally utilize its time working and building the nation. He observed that the framer of the Constitution recognized Mashujaa Day, which is set for 20th October each year, as the only day to celebrate national heroes. He insisted that Moi Day was not constitutionally recognized among the national days, which are Madaraka, Mashujaa and Jamhuri days. Matiang'i said that his ministry was in the process of making proposals to Parliament for the comprehensive review of the Public Holidays Act, Cap 110, address all outstanding matters with respect to public holidays. Reporting for Ebro TV, I'm Kaindo Stefano.
Now, crossing over to the corridors of justice, a lost national identity card was used to register a SIM card used in the murder of lawyer Willie Kimani and 2 others in the year 2016. Through his confession before Justice Jesse Lesit, Moses Kiriithi, a witness working at the Standard Gauge Railway, says he lost the ID in 2016 and reported the matter at the Mlolongo police station, where the first accused person, Frederick Leliman, was attached. Our reporter Jeff Haemba attended court proceedings and filed the following report.
The case over the murder of lawyer Willie Kimani and 2 others has now taken a new twist. It has now emerged that a lost national identity card belonging to Moses Kiriithi, who works at the SGR, was used to register a SIM card used in communication in the murder syndicate. Kiriithi went to Mlolongo police station to report the incident, where the first accused, Frederick Leliman, was based. However, he was advised to report the case at the Huduma Center.
So I went to Mlolongo police station to report of a lost ID card with the intention of obtaining an abstract.
The witness testifying before Justice Jesse Lesit says he lost his ID twice. The first instance was in January 2016 when he was working at the Promine company. Around September 2018, when Kiriithi was working at the SGR in Voi, he was attacked and lost his valuables, including the ID. Losing 2 IDs in a span of 2 years, Kiriithi never knew something fishy was happening to them, a matter that will land him in trouble until he was called by Clement Mwangi, the investigating officer.
He told me that he was investigating a crime, and through his investigations, he discovered that a number that was registered using my ID card number had been used during that crime.
The ID was used in the registration of the new line on June 22nd, 2016, just a day before Kimani and 2 others were killed. Another witness to face the dock was a forensic officer, Joseph Mwin, whose role was to take the pictures of what transpired in the murder. Mwindi says while in the command of Peter Ngugi, the police informer, they went to several places, including the scene of the crime, and he recorded all those events.
You said your ID number was? Just say your ID number again.
302
302
431
431
84.
Now I want you to read the ID number that is on top there. What is the number?
303
Yes.
43184.
It's different, isn't it? Different again.
It's different.
Thank you.
You have testified that you were robbed in Voi.
It was not in Mlolongo, it was in Voi.
But why would you write a statement that is different to that?
The 4 suspects will include AP officers Frederick Leliman, Stephen Chebured, Sylvia Wanjiko, and Leonard Maina Mwangi and Peter Ngugi. The police informer will again be arraigned tomorrow, where the video evidence shall be presented in court. Reporting for Ebro TV, I'm Jeff Haemba.
Thanks, Jeff. Now, Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua could be arrested sooner than later after the Senate capped his arrest warrant at 2 weeks. Mutua is wanted by the Senate to answer to queries on the 2017-2018 financial year. The Senate Public Finance Committee now wants Police Inspector General Hilary Mutyambai to present the said governor on or before the 22nd of this month.
Gentlemen who are
Dr. Alfred Mutua has failed to appear before the committee for the 4th time to respond to the county financial accounts for 3 financial years.
Does not produce the governor on that date, or in the event the governor does not produce himself before this committee. We shall be asking the DPP to file criminal proceedings against the IG and Governor Mutua.
The County Public Accounts and Investment Committee wants IG Mutiambai to effect the arrest and present the governor before the committee in the next 14 days.
We will go take an unprecedented route and debate and consider whether we should stop transfer of funds to Machakos.
But if he's arrested, in the meantime, if he's arrested immediately, he'll be brought before the committee. The committee will convene and make appropriate orders for him maybe to be fined and reappear on a date that will be fixed.
I want to bet the last coin. We give 14 days, Mutu will never come here. The next thing he is going to do is going to go to court.
The Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act grants the Committee of both Houses of Parliament the power to order the arrest of any witness who severally snub invites and summons.
We have been even considering whether to fine. And you see, this thing of governors, when we fine them 500,000, and assuming they've stolen funds, what is 500,000?
The law further gives the committee the power to impose fines ranging from 200,000 to 3 million. The committee had issued summons against the governor on September 17th during its sittings in Kitui County. This is the second time the committee has issued warrants for the arrest of the governor. The first was in 2017 when, under the chairmanship of Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, it ordered the then police chief Joseph Boynet to arrest Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya. The order was, however, not effected. Abdiaziz Hashim, Ibru TV.
Now, the Supreme Court has dealt the National Assembly a blow after it ruled that it has powers to hear and determine a case over division of revenue matters. The Council of Governors had moved to court seeking determination on whether the National Assembly can pass the appropriation bill. This is after the President signed into law the appropriation bill without the existence of a division of revenue bill. Ode Francis now reports on this particular story.
The conflict between members of parliament and the county government on revenue allocation had for 2 months halted county government operations.
This court, therefore, will exercise its discretion to render an opinion as prayed, but only in terms that shall be explained in directions to follow. This means that not all issues shall be determined by this court, but we shall let the parties know which issues shall be determined.
The problem that has since been resolved after the Senate accepted 316.5 billion allocation for counties proposed in the revised 2019 Division of Revenue Bill.
Consequently, make the following orders. A, the preliminary objection dated 18th July is hereby disallowed. B, directions on the specific issues to be addressed by the parties in submissions shall be given by the DR to the parties on the 16th of October 2019, and there shall be no orders as to cost.
The Supreme Court has maintained that it has jurisdiction to hear a case filed by counties on the controversy surrounding the division of revenue.
For the public interest, we are also persuaded in the submissions of the Speaker that certain issues raised cannot wait the normal appeal mechanism so as to reach this court. In previous cases, we will proceed on a case-by-case basis, analyzing the subject matter of the reference in order to reach our determination.
While delivering the ruling, Justice Njokindungu dismissed the National Assembly's objection on the court's jurisdiction to determine the case, emphasizing that the issues raised are of great public interest and therefore the court will exercise its jurisdiction on the matter.
As to whether the issues raised herein, whether they are of general public importance and deserving of this court's advice, despite certain issues being live before the High Court, we agree that the issues raised in the reference herein are of general public importance and thus deserving of the court's exercise of discretion to offer an opinion.
For Ibru TV, I'm Ode Francis.
Now, the family of Kenya's ambassadorial nominee to Korea, Mwende Mwinzi, has come to her defense following a failure by the National Assembly to approve her as Kenya's ambassador to Seoul a few months after her appointment. This is the latest development on a matter that threatens to spiral and put to question the legality of having top government officials serve in office while holding dual citizenship.
National Assembly Committee on Implementation recommended a reversal of National Assembly's approval of Ms. Mwinzi for appointment of the post after she failed to denounce her U.S. citizenship, opting to sue the Assembly instead. Mwende, however, argues that she is a Kenyan citizen owing to the fact that most of her family members are Kenyans and U.S. citizen by birth, reason why she can't denounce her U.S. citizenship as the National Assembly demands. Over the weekend, major developments on the issue happened, with opposition leader Raila Odinga calling upon MPs to allow Mwinzi to take up her new appointment, saying it was unjust for parliamentarians to ask her to surrender her U.S. citizenship, as both citizenships had been acquired lawfully. The African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructure Development has called upon the legislators to withdraw their decision of persuading Ms. Mwinzi to invalidate her American citizenship. The dual citizenship standoff has seen the Korea ambassador nominee's family come to her defense. Frederick Kimanzi, Munyambu, Mwende's uncle, has stated that her ability to lead and deliver won her the appointment, maintaining that Mwende is qualified and competent enough to represent the country given a chance.
Hii mambo imetuletea tabu hapa. Kwa sababu, tuseme for example, niko na watoto wajukuu wangu ambao wako Amerika. Na watoto wengine wangu wako Amerika. Na sasa niko na wajukuu na wao ni American citizen na wao wanakuja hapa. Yaani unaweza kuniambia ya kwamba hawa watoto hawezi kuja hapa kuitisha kupata appointment?
Kwa nini huyu bwana anakuja pande ya kwetu? Mimi sitaki kusikia hiyo maneno ya hiyo mtu.
Mutune Mwendwa Mwinzi, the nominee's cousin, says recent developments surrounding her nomination is distressing to the family, insisting it's not her fault she wasn't born in Kenya. Mwingi West MP Charles Nguna called upon Ukambani leaders and national leaders as a whole to speak in unison and let Mwende serve her post.
Ng'ombe pamoja mahali panaitwa Iko. Tulikuwa tunaenda huko hata anashindwa kupanda milima tunabebana. Sasa kwenda ngambo kusoma na kurudi, hii isikuwe shida mingi na mambo mingi atukusema sio Mkenya, nini mambo mingi. Mwende ni Mkenya Mukitondo waswa ambaye hata majina yake inatangaza kwamba yeye ni Mkamba kabisa.
I know her very well. She has been helping the community in terms of donations for various activities in this constituency. She is also in the constituency, living in the constituency, and it is high time we shed off the differences and also bend some rules so that Mwende Mwinzi can begin her work in South Korea.
Mwende had earlier revealed that she was born in the U.S. and came to Kenya at the age of 16 months. Winnie Lubembe for Ebru TV.
Ayub on standby on the other side. Of course, he'll be taking us through what is happening at the international scene, and equally, of course, his crosses over to the round table to have candid discussions on, of course, what we expect. According to him, what he says is that already the IEBC has already released the voter registration, of course, out here or online. It should be online, Sheikh, right? Yes, it is online, and of course, we'll be going through that. He will be taking us through as they get to discuss that and much more. With the rest of the panel, also as we take a look at the heat on Punguza Mizigo and what it means for Ekuro Court's bid, and moving forward where we stand as a country in terms of ensuring that we get the constitution, or better yet, we go for a referendum in the event that that will play out. Later on, I'll be coming with a different discussion on how we can get to save the girl child. So make sure that you keep it right here. I'll take a breather, then Sheikh will be back.
Welcome back. A brief look at the traffic update and the international development, and later we'll cross over in about 4 minutes' time to the round table. Let's sample some of what you have managed to send from the roads. Thika Road, Kamishikana, Sawa Sawa. says Njuguna Steve on Twitter. And we look at the major roads. Mombasa Road inbound Ninyue inashikana Nyayo Stadium, but at least it's moving, says Njoro Haman on Twitter. What's happening in Kiambu Road from Ridgeways ni parking, says I'm Jose on Twitter. And I have been understanding this Thika Road traffic. Past 2 weeks have been a mess, says June Wangari on Twitter. Well, Nachana na Kiambu Road Kapsa, says Marius Mugambi on Twitter. And include the number of beggars on the roads. It's now business. We even have immigrant beggars from TZ and Uganda, says Hitler Law 2 on Twitter. And one final one here. Kiambu Road, leo hakuna happy hour, tuko parking. Does it explain why tomorrow might be? It's the holiday forthcoming tomorrow. One final one here before I go to the international development. And this pertains, of course, to what's happening on... I miss the old days when Thika Road was a free-flowing road until town. Nowadays, it's a parking lot every hour, says Mohan B on Twitter. So we get to the international news, and starting off with the developments from the United States of America regarding, of course, the Donald Trump impeachment and the inquiry that was commissioned by the House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who was blocked from listening to testimony which was supposed to be given by the United States Ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland, and a Trump donor who started, of course, giving out the leaks in regards to what was under investigations following that summer phone call between President Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. And he becomes one of the key witnesses that will be testifying in front of the House of Representatives. But a communication or a communique from the White House did say that it will block that in what the Democrats now say, they're opposed to Donald Trump as perhaps delay in justice and perhaps a violation of the Constitution. They do accuse President Trump of using his presidential position to seek political leverage in that phone call where he called upon Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate Joe Biden, who is seen as a contestant for the Democrats and perhaps a flag bearer in the 2020 election and a rival to President Donald Trump in that election. In the United Kingdom, the matters that pertain Brexit and Boris Johnson with regards to the deal which was presented by the United Kingdom to the European Union. But there appears to be a case of the events in United Kingdom. The flip-floppy nature of the political development in Westminster appears to be sending the wrong signals to the Brussels, which is headquarters of the European Union. And in that proposal presented, it means then that in that crucial meeting on the 18th and 19th of October 2019, before the deadline day, which is looming according to the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who said it's a do or die, which apparently might not materialize as per the political developments in the UK and equally at the European Union level. Because Boris Johnson is set to meet the leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, present an idea in the event that there might be a no consensus over what regards to the new proposals made to the European Union, and in that regard then call for a general election. But the European Union has said that there is always a door which is open for a possible extension, which will lead to a gain-gain situation for both the EU and the United Kingdom. However, though 3 years since the referendum in which 17 million people voted to leave the European Union by 52% under then Prime Minister David Cameron, who resigned, and subsequently his position at the 10 Downing Street taken over by Theresa May, who subsequently became a casualty, and a possible one under Boris Johnson, who is accused of misleading the Queen in that historic Supreme Court ruling, which sat in London and upheld a decision from an Edinburgh Court of Appeal in Scotland under the Chief Justice Lady Hale, who said that the prorogation of the House of Commons by the United Kingdom Prime Minister was unlawful, thus unconstitutional. And one day later, John Bercow, the Speaker of the House of Commons, did say that the House will resume. And there's this tweet from Donald Tusk, and if you can have this up on air, Mr. Director Chalo. And this is what he said: at Boris Johnson, what's at stake is not winning some stupid blame game. At stake is the future of Europe and the UK, as well as the security and interests of our people. You don't want a deal, you don't want an extension, you don't want to revoke. Quo vadis, a Latin word which means which way then? It means that it's directionless. So we come back to the roundtable here as we will be having this up on air regarding, of course, the main headline of the day. We can have this Charles up on air, which has been the main headline of the Daily Nation. So I get back to join my able panel here on set regarding, of course, the political developments in the country and the latest development of course, which regards the Punguza Mzigo Bill. Gentlemen, I do appreciate your time. I have on set Daktari Nahashon Moitale Langat, who is a policy expert with Kipram. Thank you, Daktari. Good morning. Lovely to have you. At the center is Cyrus Litswa, who, of course, is a strong supporter of Musalia Mudavadi. Your party leader jetted back over the weekend and said on Thursday last week that the handshake was necessitated by foreign pressure. We'll come and seek your sentiments. And
Yes.
we have Edgar, my good friend here.
Yes.
Chamage.
Missing.
Thank you. So we start with what yesterday happened here in Nairobi, and it regards, of course, the developments with regards to Punguza Mzigo. And in a unanimous vote, members of the county assemblies allied to both the Jubilee Party and ODM yesterday evening rejected the Punguza Mzigo Bill 2019, terming it unrealistic and retrogressive, which never captured, according to them, the views of the public during the composition process. They were against the proposal to reduce the number of constituencies, the interference in the two-thirds gender rule, and reducing the elected representatives, in which Thirdway wanted a cut down at the bicameral level. Claims that powerful forces were swaying voting on the Punguza Mzigo referendum initiative surfaced following the rejection in 4 county assemblies perceived to be the strongholds of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the opposition chief Raila Odinga. With the Building Bridges initiative set to issue a report end of this month, October, how will the political establishment balance between the referendum fever and the succession politics of 2022? Talk to us. The number is 0791 478 990. The hashtag on Twitter is NewDayKE. The short SMS code is 40920. Gentlemen, good morning. Let me start with this Punguza Mzigo element, and I'll come to you direct, Cyrus Litswa. And there appears to be perhaps what was well-engineered politically or well-crafted by the Punguza Mzigo Bill, which in some sense, for fairness, led to the, of course, the level of acceptance of the 1 million mark, which the ODM in 2016 failed under Okoa Kenya initiative. With regards to the continuous shooting down of this bill in the county assemblies, except for the case of Uasin Gishu County, how steep is the slope ahead for Daktari Ekuru Okoth's Third Way Alliance party?
Thank you for having me again on this day. Punguza Mzigo Bill actually was meant to flop. From its own structure, the way it is structured, and the way it was...
you mean the proposals?
The proposals, in it, were meant to fail. It's a populist bill, whereby it pleases the people, but it does not please the leaders. One, when you look at the reasons why Nairobi County shut down the bill, when you say you want to reduce the number of MCAs from 85 to 17, who is that MCA ready to relinquish his position and just support another person or become unemployed? Which kind of a leader is that who is ready to lose his own word? Now, when you say, when the bill says that it wants to reduce the women rep and members of parliament. Okay. Now, which kind of member of parliament is ready to relinquish or lose his own seat? There's no one at all who is ready to lose his own seat.
Okay.
So, the bill itself does not explain, yes, we are going to reduce the number of representation, but where will this money go? I don't see in the bill where it states that this money will be allocated for this and this and this. And these are how services would be trickled down to the common mwananchi.
Okay.
Because the 85 MCAs are representative of the people on the ground. Okay? But when you say you want to do away with them, now you have 17 of them. How will this will be represented in the county assembly?
All right. Generally, that has been the feeling, because there appears to be a joint approach with which there is a front which is common in terms of the opposition with regards to the Punguza Mzigo Bill. Daktari Nahashon, let me come to you on this. Then there are different interpretations with regards to, of course, what he managed to constitute as in the 2019 Punguza Mzigo Bill, that is Daktari Ekuru Okoth. And distilling this down with regards to the recent 4 counties as of yesterday, which rejected the proposal's 2019 bill of the Punguza Mzigo, how monumental is this setback to Daktari Ekuru Okoth with regards to the continuity in which counties are becoming hostile political grounds for his bill?
As we speak now, I don't think the Punguza Mzigo bill will see the light of the day, because the momentum or public, the way the public had actually wanted to adapt it. But later, due to the big boys now in the game, it is being watered down to an extent that because you need to have at least half of the counties endorsing it.
That is 24
24
out of the 47.
Out of the 47. But unfortunately, it won't even reach 10. So it is unfortunate, and initially I understand that I don't think we need a referendum. Generally, we don't need.
Whether the BBI recommends that or...
Whether the BBI or not, because the 9-point even for the BBI can actually be entrenched can be done by the parliament. So it's a setback for Daktari Uhuru Aukot, and it is now obvious Ruto was not behind it. You know, initially they had said that.
As was claimed before.
Yeah, it was a claim that Ruto is the engine behind it, but it's only Washingishu which did that because it's only the county.
Which interestingly is William Ruto backyard.
Yes. Yes. But there are very other. I think Ruto wanted to give her something. You go home with at least one county from. But anyway, we need to move on and actually have a way forward in this referendum thing, so that we don't be in a mood of election every day, day in out, election. There is something at the county assembly, but now let the county assemblies now do what the devolution dictates. That is now work with the Senate and deliver on devolution.
All right, and Edgar,
yes.
Coming to you on this important element, there appears to be an escalation politically with regards to the Bill 2019 of Punguza Mizigo. And of course, when you talk about Raila Odinga and President Kenyatta, they do hold, or DP William Ruto, sway and have influence politically across the country. And in some of the counties where this bill has been shut down, these are backyard or strongholds of the president and the opposition chief, Raila Odinga. Does it explain perhaps a regroup politically in terms of expressing their regional or sort of political hegemony with regards to now totally wrapping up the Punguza Mizigo bill in what may appear to be a political assault with regards to the Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta coming together, which literally is watering down the bill which was managed to be put forth by Dr. Uhuru Aukot?
Well, Sheikh, thank you for having me, and thank you, Ebru TV, for having me too. Now, let's say the bill passes.
Or passed by 24 counties.
Yes. How will you view Uhuru Aukot? So there are people who look at that and who would think that the Kenyans will be like, whoa, he is a savior, you know. So there is that, Uhuru Aukot forgot that Kenya has its owners, and Kenya is run by those who run Kenya, you know. So he should have consulted. One, he should have gone the Ruto way, the president's way, or Raila's way. Now, going on it alone into the debe, trying to divert the light into himself. Anyway, the headlines, we have Uhuru Aukot. We are now discussing Uhuru Aukot on a national television.
Which is a national matter.
Yes. He is now a national matter. He has diverted all our attention to his bill. You know, he has the light that he wanted. But there are people seeing that if this thing passes, how will we view him? Now, back to the bill in itself. When it started, we all had this excitement that finally we have a bill to amend the Constitution. But I had a problem. The problem is that it was not really shaken. It was not really. I was wondering how Kericho County will be represented by one MP. How? As in...
One man, one woman.
One man, one woman.
Or say Nairobi County.
But we didn't see one thing. We were not discussing too much on the many MCAs coming down to... You know, they didn't see that part.
Yes.
They didn't see that part that the MCAs are going to be reduced. They were seeing them, the MPs. And they were seeing the money coming down, the CDF, the money being allocated to the
wards.
They were not seeing that they were going to be reduced. They were not seeing that
Numbers
part.
of the county assemblies.
Yes. Now they are seeing it. Someone was saying that this bill is like it's giving out goodies in this hand and taking out others in this hand. So people have come to the realization that there was no public participation. They would have included the bigwigs of the country. They would have gone to the table. But Ekuru Court was thinking that is corruption. That if I go to those people, I will be sailing in there. Because he's been accusing people of massive corruption in the country.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to associate himself with those people. Now, consulting them again is like going into their camp. And I want to be alone. I want to save Kenya alone. And I want to be the savior of Kenya. Wrong, Ekuru Court. Wrong. So that bill is meant to fail. That bill might not see the light of the day, and I applaud Ekuru Court for trying and being at the limelight. But the political reasons, the way that he presented himself to the public, no.
All right. Okay, Litso, I know you want to come in, but with regards to also that, there is the orderly undertaking of how he managed to follow the constitutional route. Of course, he never wanted to involve the double R's and Raila Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, because he has been constantly accusing them of corruption and mismanagement of the economy, with regards to, of course, also Raila Odinga. Did that in any way perhaps might have prompted what we are witnessing at the moment regarding, of course, the influence and sway they have in the essence that the counties are now shooting down this bill, which at some point in the start, at the kickstart, gained some support, because one element of the Jubilee Party, the Tanga, were a bit frustrated and felt uncertain about the Building Bridges initiative and Raila Odinga's status in government.
Okay. I can say Ekuru Court came on board not as a politician, but presented himself as like an activist. And you see, an activist is a man who says, the river is dirty, and let us clean the river. He's not a man who says the river is dirty and then he leaves the river. No. A politician will come and tell you this river is dirty, then he'll leave it that way. But an activist will show you how to clean that river and make it clean. Now, when you come out as an activist on a political matter, then you are bound to fail. You're not bound to achieve a lot. If Ekuru Court could have even taken even a small party, like let me say Ford Kenya, a small party like even Wiper or any other small parties, this small party, there are so many small parties in this country, okay? And say, let us sit together on this table and look at this, okay? It's not a matter of being a lone ranger for you to make a name, but it's a matter of pushing an agenda that you believe it is valuable for the Kenyans. Then you look at which political parties am I going to go with, okay? So if you could even have brought few political parties on board, and then say, let us work on this, let us look to the views of this, okay? Then how are we going to push this agenda? It is a hard task, but how are we going to push it for it to become a reality?
So the lack of the presence of the other parties or players has cost it?
Yes, the lack of other parties on board has cost it. Leave alone even Jubilee and ODM and any other party, but also these other small parties that are there. We have Ukweli Party, we have NAK Kenya, we have DP, these small parties that are there, okay, that don't have even representation in the parliament. Ekuru Court could say, my party doesn't have representation in the parliament, let us also come together with these other small parties that don't have representation in the parliament. Then we sit together so that we can create a space for our own people. Then define what cost are we going to give to our own people. Now, for him to go and sit with Raila, he felt like, I'll be like, I want to lick Raila's boot for him for my bill to go through.
And he completely avoided that.
Yes, he avoided that. And you see, fine, it is true. I don't object. But you see, in another way, you are fighting a person who is going to fight you. You are fighting a person who has been in the system for the longest time possible.
All right.
So how are you going to pull him? That is like cutting a tree with a razor blade.
Okay, which is impossible.
It is very impossible.
Dr. Hashon, coming to you then, you are up to date with the ongoing political development in the country and the cost with which the country has been taken or directed or driven politically in the country. But given that and what you're witnessing at the moment, the continuity, the sense of the viscous nature at which the Punguza Mzigo bill is being shot down by respective county assemblies. Of course, mathematically, he still has a chance because there are more than 30 counties that are yet to debate that or are yet to determine that matter. But given his political stance, let's talk about the influence he has. He has no elected member of county assembly, no elected woman rep, member of parliament, senator, governor, or neither is he the president. Did that in any way cost him the essence of having the sway across the counties and wanting 24 of the 47 counties to instigate the process of a referendum?
Yeah, the fact that Ekuru Aukot is somebody who's, most of the people know him as a new entrant into the field, but he still have a chance, as we say, but a chance which is a miracle if he gets it. The fact that Ekuru Aukot doesn't have the influence from various stakeholders. Stakeholders means people like even the church. Where does he identify himself as from, or the originality, where does he come from? You can say, I come from Turkana County. So in Africans, you have to have a place.
Wouldn't that be again unfair? Because the Kotu section at Wale did say at some point, I don't want to mention the community he did come from, or he does come from. And doesn't that perhaps speaks a lot about the sense of political impunity in this country with regards to when one comes to the idea, no one checks and wants to see your policies or ideologies, but someone will focus on the region you come from and the dominion to which you belong. Isn't that unfair?
So, if it is taken out of context, like there is a way you say derogatory, like the way the Atwoli said, in a way that he was trying to demean him, but naturally we have an origin and we have been told to be proud of where we come from. So, but when you identify and the place also identifies with you positively, it's not a bad thing. But again, when it is taken like that, you are useless because you come from Narok County or wherever you come from, it now demeans you. Now, but coming back to Ekuru Aukot is that he needed some sort of base. Maybe an organization, like I have given an example of a church, another lobby group, maybe there, Katiba, Sasa, something like that, so that it doesn't seem like Lone Ranger, as Liso has said, because it's like you want to achieve alone. It's like you're in a football match or pitch, and you want to be the goalkeeper, you want to be the striker, you want to be the ward defender, and you also want to be the coach. So you go to the county assembly and you want to be everything. So the fact that you don't have a sitting MCA, you don't have anybody nominated, you don't even have you're not the president, and you are competing with these two people because anyway you want to be the president or you are a presidential candidate, disadvantages you. So there were a lot of, but for a start is good. But for this project or this Punguza Mzigo, it is a no for now.
Well, gentlemen, then let's see the break here on the program. When we come back, of course, we'll be turning our attention to what the ODM yesterday said in that press it issued in Parliament. Of course, the contingent of members of Parliament of the ODM party led by the leader of the minority party, the ODM party, that is John Badi, United Mohammed, Gladys Wanga, and the others who yesterday led or read the statement with regards to the ODM party's position and the fact that they'll be heading to the anniversary towers, the IEBC headquarters. But the IEBC just in about 30 minutes ago released the updated voter register of Kibra parliamentary by-elections. I'll read that to you and why today is likely going to be Machozi Wednesday, and regarding, of course, the forthcoming Kibra parliamentary by-elections. 0791 478 is the number. The hashtag on Twitter is Newday KE. The short SMS code is 40920. We are coming back after the short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching the program. This is Newday Kenya. On to the second segment, and we'll be wrapping things up here in the next 15 minutes or so. So the IEBC, following the ODM presser yesterday, did release a statement this Wednesday morning, and to just be brief, these are the details that it did reveal in that statement. The number of registered voters as at 2017, 118,276. Number of voters registered by the CVR and uploaded, 333. Number of transfers into the constituency, 44 registered voters. Number of transfers within the constituency, 22. Numbers deleted, 1. Name update or change of voters biography details, 1. And signed, of course, by Wafula Chebukati, the commission chairperson, following the ODM statement yesterday. Edgar,
Yes.
I'll come to you. A lot to talk about the IEBC because the ODM party ranted, raved, and tear gas Tuesdays, Machozi Mondays 2016. They saw off Isaac Hassan and the previous commission. This, of course, came into power. Still, they are, of course, they are discontent about the conduct of the commission in 2017. But looking at that and the fact that the IEBC appears at the moment to be a domesticated crocodile unable to hunt, does this again reveal the fact that it's a commission that only works under pressure, and of course, vis-a-vis the release of this statement and the ODM presser, which yesterday happened in Bunge?
Ayub, I want to say something unconventional.
All right.
On a national TV. That I usually say most of the time that usilete tabia mzuri kwa siasa, that don't bring morality into politics and don't try to sanitize everything in politics. Those who are trying to steal, there's a time when you will go, when you will use underhand dealings to get to your political destination. And whatever Jubilee is doing, if you try to play by the book, is risking loss. A political scientist will tell you that, but they will not admit it in a public forum, in where people are listening. I know Liso is listening to me. They will not admit it. You know. So ODM, instead of trying to clean their hands on a national television and saying we are clean, they are dirty, they should really rethink and try also some unconventional ways of gaining Kibra's seat. The boss of my ANC
Mudavadi,
brother,
yes.
Mudavadi, has accused the government, has accused Ruto of using his residence that was built by taxpayers' money to woo the voters. Now, it is allowed. It is allowed when people are not seeing. It is an unconventional way of getting people. Even handing out money is immoral. But it is allowed in a way that people, when people are not seeing. ODM should stop crying like this and think. I think it is time Baba gets better people more than Junet Mohammed. I know I'm hurting some people who are watching me.
Right.
But those people who are surrounding Baba are doing him disservice. They should stop the presser.
Right.
They should stop all this and try to be sharper like the Jubilee Nation. Jubilee Nation are using all manner of tricks, even intimidation, even the spin doctoring of things on air. You should see Facebook replicating whatever is happening, convincing the masses that what is happening is big.
All right.
The money is the what. ODM should just stop all this drama.
All right, Litswa, taking stock of of course, your party boss at some point was at the university were demonstrating for changes at the IEBC. And again, we are witnessing the ODM party now single-handedly wants the IEBC to reveal that. And IEBC did, of course, make public the updated voter register. And looking back and reflecting on the IEBC's conduct, fast forward to 2019, and this condition given by the ODM party, looking at the condition now and then, is it pretty much the same commission, or a commission that is willing to change, or a commission that changes under pressure?
IBC is the root cause of electoral malpractice in the country. And I believe the BBI that is being fronted by ODM leader has really focused on how to sanitize IBC in the best way possible, so that you can never have a problem with the IBC whenever it comes to election. Because no matter what kind of election will come today, tomorrow, or in near future, IBC will be
just go ahead.
IBC will be a place where people will always cry and throw stones at. Okay? I believe that the IBC, that the changes that are always desired for IBC there are changes that never suits or never benefits any political leader, especially the ODM party leader, Raila Odinga. The IBC changes has never benefited him. And that's why he has always cried foul of anything that IBC conducts. Looking at the election at the moment, I can say that it has already been declared it is Mariga and Imran, which is very wrong. And I said on this table the other day that a candidate will win who is not even in the mouths of the people. And this thing, the results were, a poll was conducted last week, where Eliud Owalo had 36, Imran had around 14, Mariga had around 10 or 12. A poll was, a survey was released last week, where Owalo was leading.
Well,
yes,
candidate.
Yes, and I'm telling you, this thing of narrowing down to 2 candidates, and yet there are several candidates in the field.
Okay.
Because there is a saying that goes kwa ground between tofauti.
All right. Of course, that's nature. But generally speaking, then the decision will be made, or the choice will be made by the people of Kibra. 118,276. But equally, this is an important element that we need to look at, despite, of course, the statements issued by your party leader. And in terms of the continuity purpose here, Owalo is also an ODM insider.
Yes.
Who worked with Raila Odinga. And with regard to now what the ODM has issued, that presser yesterday, threatening politically the IEBC, in terms of the pattern and the series of how it has done the previous commission with regards to seeing off the IEBC, then led by Isaac Hassan and company, does it reveal an essence of perhaps a crying wolf nature of the ODM party in sensing a political defeat?
And that's why I've said, ODM will always cry. No matter what kind of changes that will come to IEBC, it will always cry. Remember, Isaac Hassan, who was fronted by even Raila himself, okay? After the election of 2013, ODM was on the streets crying that Isaac Hassan must go.
All right.
Demonstrations were held. Isaac Hassan must go. Come 2017, we boycotted elections. In some areas, the elections were not voted. NASA boycotted the elections. You are aware of that. Why? Because we were not satisfied by IBC. So IBC will always be a crybaby, and IBC will always be used as an avenue when you feel that you are beaten hands down.
All right.
And you see...
so it's the problem with the IBC or the ODM party?
The problem is the ODM party.
Do you acknowledge there are problems within IBC itself?
First of all, let me say, my party leader has not cried fall of IBC at the moment, leave alone the other times. But at the moment, I've not seen him cry fall of IBC. He's very much satisfied and content with the IBC. So he's concentrated on the ground, not at the IBC, because he knows he has the ground.
Okay.
He knows that he's going to win. Now, for the issue of ODM, and the only party that is crying right now is ODM. Why?
So it's a problem only confined to the ODM party?
It is only a problem for the ODM party, not any other place.
Okay, let me see the sentiments of Dr. Kari. Dr. Kari, when you look at the IEBC, I mean, you look at the 1997 elections that happened just after the first election of the multi-party democracy in 1992. Of course, Mwai Kibaki went to court before that petition was quashed by the court following the re-election of President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Come to 2002, a fair electoral process, so to speak. 2007, of course, it was contested with regard to the ugly spectre and the fact that Samuel Kivitu, the late, disowned the management of the elections. 2013, the same applied. 17, the same applied. When you look at the series of how the IBC, the happenstances, it managed to conduct the elections or referee the political process in the country, and where we are at the moment, it hasn't fulfilled some of the Curricular Commission, which was formed in 2008 after the post-election skirmishes recommendations. It never conducted an external audit of the 2017 elections. The servers are not yet opened, and it gave itself a clean bill of health, notwithstanding Wafula Chebukati, the chair, who said in some days before the 26th of October 2017 elections that I can't guarantee a credible poll. There's some sense of political dirtiness in the IBC house, isn't it?
Yes, but there is room for improvement. Because as we have given the sequences of events from 1992 up to now, something needs to be done, especially on the composition of the commissioners. Because we don't expect Chebukati to be IBC. Because now it's like you cannot separate the two. Because the moment we don't have other commissioners, it seems like it's a one-man show. So we need to actually have the commissioners in place, and actually there should never be a vacuum in IBC. The moment that the 3 commissioners recently resigned, Kombe went to his country, back to the US, to our country actually. Now, the IBC was left with 2. I think 3.
3 commissioners.
Now. Yes, and then Chebukati now. That incapacitated the commission, because they need to have departmental committee. As a commissioner, you should be in a committee. If it is something to deal with boundary review, there should be a committee headed by, at least with a watchdog of one of the commissioners. So there is a lot that needs to be done to give back, to give the Kenyans the confidence, and even in the case of self-evaluation, we did an independent review on the system. Even when we talk about the servers, I know they were opened anyway, but it needs to be audited again so that we know exactly are we on the right place. Because if someone has to lose an election, and the moment you lose, you'll have to be saying that it is bad. It is only good when you are winning. So there should be continuous improvement of the system in the IBC.
All right, of course, and that's needed constitutionally. Edgar, coming to you, of course, you have a couple of minutes to do the final touches here. And I not want to wrap things up because I want to seek the sentiments of your party leader, who did say that the handshake was manufactured as a result of foreign pressure. Edgar, the ODM party now will be heading, we'll be having that update later here on our programs. And it means then that pressure on IBC appears to be coming when we are near elections, or when there appears to be political interest at stake or under threat. And does the ODM statement yesterday, I'm sure you must have seen that pressure by the ODM party, does it give prehand what might forthcome in 2022, either a new commission or contested outcome after the elections? And how do we do that? Because that has been sequential when you look at the electoral process in this country, because that is the emanation point of problems and violence after every electoral cycle.
Now, thank you, Sheikh. When you're asking this question, I wanted to interject because you've asked many questions in your statement. This cycle of accusations of the IBC when there are supposed electoral malpractices and stuff, it's been a circle. Whenever we are seeing an election coming, a hotly contested election, like this bedroom of Baba thing in Kibera. Now, you know, I was asking my friends before, if Kibra is like this, if Kibra is bringing this heat, what about 2022 elections? If they can fight like this, if those two comes, over constituency, how about 2022? Now, it brings us to worry. The IEBC, I don't know how they should behave, because when someone wins, you're a friend to that person. One time, even the government accused IBC of being unfair in terms of Akombe. Akombe doesn't come from the US. Akombe is ours. But my friend
she's
said...
a US citizen.
Because the Constitution
Akombe
guarantees her dual citizenship. Okay, go ahead.
So even one time, Jubilee Party was accusing the IBC of being unfair. You see, when you win, you praise the referee. When you lose, you have to criticize the referee. But we have to move beyond that, you know. And we have to leave this circle of trying to accuse the referee of being unfair. And even the government was one time accusing the courts of being unfair when it judges against them, when they say, we need evidence, come with... So the referee sometimes does not favor one side, and we should accept that. Today, they might go, they might walk, but there's a narrative on the streets. Even he said, there's a narrative that ODM and the press conference and the IBC is unfair, is usually their narrative.
Okay.
So it's normal.
The crying wolf nature of that story. But Litwa, well, let me wrap things up here. 1 minute before we go on a break, come back and have that different discussion with Linda. And your party leader did say last week, Thursday, while in the US, that the handshake was necessitated by the foreign pressure, the visa cancellations, and how that might have had effect on the members of the political establishment. And how truth is that, owing that he's a politician, and often, as Edgar does point out, that morality and politics can't share the same den. And is it a case of him washing our dirty dishes in foreign kitchen?
Yes. It's not, my party leader is not the first one to wash our dirty linen in public.
Who else did so?
Our leaders have always washed our dirty linen in public. When the elections were being conducted, Ruto, I remember, said that Raila is having
militia.
Okay. So
that was
on an international media.
Yes.
Remember, this is the deputy president speaking. So was he not washing that linen?
So interestingly, we have militias in this.
He was misquoted.
No, he said so.
He said he was there.
So you can't defend him on that. I'm sorry.
So we cannot say that Mudavadi is when somebody now gets out now to be who he's supposed to be.
All right.
We now start saying that he's washing that linen in the public. No, whatever he said, I can term it as true, because looking at the most investors in this country are from outside.
Okay.
And they have their interest at heart in the country. You see, Kenya is like a hub of investment for most of people from the outside.
Okay.
So when anything happens to this country, it brings it brings a lot of shake-up to many. So I believe in what he said, based on economy.
All right.
And you see, our economy also was going down. And when our economy goes down, the countries around us who depend on us
will
suffer.
equally be affected.
Yeah.
All right.
And you see, on the problems that are there, actually, on the let me go back to that IBC
Briefly,
thing, briefly.
yeah.
Once John F. Kennedy said, let us not seek a Republican answer or a Democratic answer to our problems, but seek to come up clear and solve the problem that we have for the better future of our own people.
Well, if that quote then today is to be taken serious by Donald Trump, who blocked the American ambassador to the EU from the House of Representatives' testimony, well, JF Kennedy must be rumbling somewhere in his grave. Well, and
yes.
that's really opposite of what today is transpiring in the politics of Capitol Hill in Washington, the United States of America. But thank you so much, Litso. It's a good end to a good discussion equally. Daktari Nahashon Moitale Langat and Edgar Kuske, I do appreciate your time. Thank you, and thank you to you too. After the break, Linda will be back with a discussion, a totally different discussion that pertains, of course, social issues in the society. And equally later on the program, in about 40 minutes' time, Winnie Lubembe will be here with my doctor as we wrap things up here this Wednesday morning, ahead of course, that important holiday tomorrow. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you to you too. After the short break, this is Newday KE.
Success and failure are generally slow processes, either slowly building things up or gradually tearing them down. That's why I say you've got to pay attention. You have to watch every single second, because those seconds, they turn into minutes, and minutes turn into hours, and hours turn into days, and days turn into years. And in those precious seconds, you are either building or you are decaying. You are either gaining ground or you are losing ground in that second, and in every second. Every second counts. So make every second count.
Dreams without goals are just dreams. And they ultimately fuel disappointment. So have dreams, but have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. And understand, to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency. Not just on Tuesday and miss a few days. You have to work at it every day. You have to plan.
Know what your mission is. Know what your intent, as the commander of your life, know what your intent is, and then fight with everything you've got to win.
What's the primary difference between winners and losers? The winners do it. Folks, I want you to know almost everybody in America almost does enough to win. They almost get there. They almost are over the hump. They almost have it going. They almost, in everything they do, almost is a way of life to almost everybody in America. If you want to become somebody, do it. If you want to go in business for yourself, do it. If you want to become financially independent, do it. The winners do whatever it takes to get the job done. They do it, and do it, and do it, and do it, until the job gets done. And then they talk about how great it is to finally have achieved something unique, and how glad they are that they didn't quit like everybody else, and how wonderful it is to finally be somebody they're proud of and make a difference with their life.
Now, in many countries, girls are the first victims when children's rights are being violated. They often suffer double discrimination. Now, there are various factors as to why this happens or what contributes to some of these situations. And in preparation of the World Day of the Girl Child, that is October the 11th. Today we look at some of the situations or some of the reasons why some of these things happen, and of course how we can proceed to help the girl child or help save the girl child. Joining me on set are beautiful amazing ladies that are going to take us through this particular session as we discuss issues that affect the girl child. I mean, this is a discussion that is always ongoing, because then it's crucial that we address these particular issues. When we take a look at how much we've made strides, the global fraternity going out there fighting for the rights of the girls, but still we've not been able to totally and fully achieve this. What could be altering this are some of the things that we'll be discussing, and whether indeed the girls are aware of the rights that they should be having, because most of the times they will be violated, most of the times they will go through tough times simply because they do not even know what is there for them to enjoy or what is there of them to pride in. So welcome on board once again. Of course, thank you, Ayub, for that great session that you had in the morning. And of course, we now cross over to this discussion about the girl child. And of course, right here is, the panel is all set. We're expecting 3 of you, but then again, 2 of you are here. So I'll allow you to introduce yourselves to us as we proceed with this discussion. Thank you so much for your time. Karibu. Start with you.
Thank you. My name is Immaculate Kithika.
Yes.
Working with ANCAN, African Network for the Prevention and Protection of Children Against Abuse and Neglect.
All right. Yes, as the project officer.
Yes, as
all
the
right,
project
welcome
officer.
on board.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Cynthia Katile, social worker and counselor with Movement Against Child Trafficking.
Karibu sana. And of course, we're looking forward to a very great discussion right here. We were expecting a legal officer on the other side, of course, who would have given us nitty-gritty details on the legal factor or the legal aspect, but all the same, I'm sure we can touch some of these key things that are here. And like I started by saying, indeed, it's not been an easy ground for the girl child. And of course, even as the world gets to celebrate the girl child, it looks like there's still so much that needs to be achieved towards ensuring that they fully and totally enjoy their rights as human beings first, before even being a girls for that matter. So 11th October is World Girl Child Day. Yes. So What exactly do we look at when we are celebrating this day globally and looking at the strides that we've made in addressing some of the issues, yet we've equally not been able to successfully attain this in totality?
What we are now looking at in this upcoming World Day of the Girl Child, first of all, the day was convened in the year 2012. We are now celebrating actually the 6th anniversary of the World Day of the Girl Child, and it was convened in the UN Council. And we are grateful to the government of Kenya. It has embraced the strides that the civil societies are making towards giving the girl child an equal platform to enjoy their rights as human beings.
Before we come to Cynthia, you mentioned that was actually my next question. What exactly is the country doing, or maybe the government doing, in towards supporting these opportunities or more opportunities on a ground for the girls? Because then when we're talking about the Girls' Day, it's certainly about creating those opportunities for the girls and also just getting them to a point whereby they will understand what their rights are all about. So what are some of the challenges, in relation to what we witnessed today? Of course, we have not been able to even implement the 2/3 gender rule as a country. So don't you think it will be hypocritical to even imagine that probably the government is doing more than enough towards ensuring that indeed these opportunities are created and equally the girl child is protected?
The challenges are so many. And as we know, Kenya, we are still rooted in our cultures and the social cultures. And just to mention, the government is trying. It has not yet done enough of what is needed to be done. And we're also asking the men to be on the forefront, to front this discussion of letting girls enjoy the equal platform. And the government has tried in that, in our constitution, in the Bill of Rights, Section 53.
Right.
That, and also in the Children's Act, it has given provision for participation of children. And as the civil society, in the participation of children, we are fronting the children to give their voices. We are not advocating for us to speak on their behalf. And I'll talk about the programs that we are doing, in that we let the children participate and front their own issues, so that we can get to understand what they are going through and how to help as the government and the civil society.
All right, before we come to the legal provisions, two of them you've mentioned, and I want to believe there are a couple of them.
Yes.
Let's cross over to Cynthia. Now, Cynthia, it's pertinent that there's that understanding of the troubles that the girl child is going through, and equally them understanding that, like she rightfully puts it, there's that need for them to come on board and participate so that you're able to know what they're going through. In your own capacity, do you suppose that girls are aware of their rights, or they still operate in the dark, in the kitchen, at that level of servantship?
I feel like a lot of girls have come to the understanding of, their rights.
Yeah.
In being that in schools, there have been provisions being made where girls go through counseling, where you find in most schools, girls of a certain age, every now and then, are kept aside just to be talked to, and to help them understand that being married off is not okay.
Right.
Servantship, as you've said, is not really their place, that even female leaders have really stepped up to create that platform for girls to understand that they have an opportunity in the society to do more than what is, let's say, expected of them in the African culture.
All right, you've mentioned something to do with education, which is something that we'll discuss and is very pertinent. Some of the issues actually that the girls are facing nowadays, up until this particular time and age, there's some of the girls that are not allowed to go to school. Yes. And we take a look at the community factor, and we are all in agreement that there's some communities that have placed the girl child at the backbench. Yes. What efforts are there to emancipate them totally? of course, from this, which would be considered as mental slavery. Because if they're not going to school, then where do we get the platform to address some of these issues? Some of them are just at home, married off at an early stage. So a clear indication that we need to address the factor of education. So how are you dealing with such communities towards ensuring that, yes, they're able to let the girl child out there to fly?
Okay. You see, the children officers in different areas have been of help, participating with chiefs and the police. You find that in some areas where a child does not go to school, the area chief gets involved, finds out why is this particular child not in school. There are bursaries in that particular area, because you find that push factors like poverty have also put the girl at risk of not going to school, because some communities would prefer to take the boy child instead, hoping that he might have a better opportunity than the girls. So you find that the children officers on the ground have really been working towards getting children in school. You find that some schools give provision for girls who are not able to go through school completely, to be able to sort of go to class after having an arrangement with their parents, just to make sure that these girls are not married off. These girls don't go and work as house helps just to find money to go to school.
All right.
Maybe to add on.
Yes.
There's some structures that are in place. There are structures, the area advisory councils, which are government structures, and the ASC was launched in 1992 through the NCCK, and it works up to the ground level, in that we have the locational area advisory council feeding information of what is happening in the ground level, in the locational level, where the chief is the head of that council. And in those area advisory councils, they discuss of the welfare of the children. And they are divided into different sections, in that we have education, we have abuse, we have legal part. And in those councils, and we have those councils operational, if I may say, in almost every county in this country. And through those area advisory council, the children have been protected, in that the councils are made, they are constituted of the origins of those communities. They are able to report any children who are not going to school, either boys or girls, because the issue are cross-cutting. As we are fronting the girl child, we are not also leaving the boy child.
Exactly, that was my next question, because then we're supposed to go as a team. We're supposed to have the boy child in the hand of ensuring that we uplift the girl child. But then there's been this fear on ground, you know, that of course we're empowering the girl child, and this has gotten us to a point as a society of overlooking the boy child, or maybe discriminating the boy child. Hence the reason why we always hear this phrase, you know, Masaibu ya boy child and all that. So before we delve into that, in understanding the role of the boy child, and how the society together is coming towards ensuring that, yes, the girl child is empowered to a point whereby, of course, they're not going to come in and overlook on what the boy child has to present on the table. Let's first take a short break, and of course I'll come back with you, and you know, on the very same point, so that we see how then do we strike the balance, so that the boy child does not stop us from ensuring that we empower the girl child, because of the fear of the unknown, the fear of them being looked down upon. After this break. Welcome back to the broadcast, and I would say the binder is here, because then when we're talking about legal matters, then you know that it's all sealed, and you know the likelihoods of people bridging some of the policies that have been put on board, in the event that they are lost to it or binding it, then it becomes very hard. So of course Dorcas Wamboi equally joins us this morning. Thank you so much for your time, and good that we have you here. Yes, because then you will bring out the legal factor of this discussion. But before I come to you, I think let's finish up with Immaculate first. Immaculate, we're talking about the role of the boy child and how best we can ensure that we strike a balance, that they do not feel left out in this particular case when we're trying to bring up the girl child.
Yes, we when we are doing this fronting of the girl child, we have to strike the balance in that we don't discriminate the boy child. And if I may attest, the programs being done to front the girl child, they are not leaving out the boy child. In that, in schools, the child right clubs reporting these issues, voicing the children's voices. We have children forums, the children assemblies. They are constituted of boys and girls. The boys are not being left out. Only that, more emphasis is on the girls. Why? You may ask why.
Yes.
It's because the girls are more vulnerable. The girls are more vulnerable to these abuses, to abuse of trafficking, to abuse of sexual abuse, to abuse of child labor. The girl child is more exposed than the boy child. And our society also, our social cultural behaviors, and it's Kenyan, it's even in Africa. The resources, the bearer of the resources are the men.
Right.
And when you look at in our government, we have tried, the government has tried to front that gender role. It has not happened. Why? Many girls don't get to school.
Right.
Because the resources are owned by the men.
By the men.
Yes.
Okay, so there's reason enough for us to first of all start working out on what is right behind, and then we get into that level where the men are, then together we can move.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Cynthia, allow us to listen into what the legal officer has to say about this. And we started on a note where we said that the government is coming in handy towards ensuring that they create and support opportunities on ground for the girl child and equally addressing the challenges. But we'd love to hear from you on what legal provisions are there to ensure that this is implemented and cemented for that matter. And of course, citing what we witnessed just the other day, a constitutional provision that we should attain the 2/3 gender rule. But sincerely speaking, it's been a tussle and a hassle. So in as much as we say there could be legal binding factors that hold these legal provisions, are we sincere to them? Are we holding on to them? Or they're just mere provisions on paper?
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to say that Kenya, as a country, we have very beautiful laws and policies in place. But the thing that we've been struggling with in and out, year in, year out, is implementation of the policies and the legislation that are put in place. But other than that, we have the Constitution, which, as Immaculate had mentioned on Article 53, provides for the rights of the children. We also have the Children's Act. We have the Basic Education Amendment Act, which recently was passed, and it placed the responsibility on the government to provide sufficient and quality sanitary towels to the girls so that they don't miss school. Because previously, the girls had been missing schools because of the menstruation.
The menstruation,
So right now, at least we can see the government has been taking strides, albeit at a snail's pace, but it's been making strides. So the sanitary towels bit it's an improvement. We congratulate the government for that. But other than that, we have also the other legislation such as the Counter Trafficking in Persons Act, which punishes the perpetrators who exploit children, especially girls, because statistically girls are usually more vulnerable. We'll find girls being transferred from, let's say, a rural place, let's say Bungoma to Nairobi, to come and work as a house help, or to be sexually abused, or to go into early marriage, or to work in massage parlors or the bars. So girls mostly are being vulnerable. So the laws that have been put in place, we have there is the punitive nature in those laws. So, and I have also been at the forefront in the courts. We've been watching brief for the victims, the girls who have been sexually violated or who have been trafficked, and the punishments are there. I have dealt with several cases where especially in the Counter Trafficking in Persons Act, where the magistrates has gone forward and punished the perpetrators. So the laws are in place. some of them are being implemented,
Right.
but we still have a long way to go.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much. Well, you'll always say at least it's important to have steps, and you know that no steps at all. Of course, like they would rightfully put it, half a loaf is better than none.
Yes.
Cynthia, this goes straight to you. And there is a person watching us all the way from very, very far. What's his place? He says he's in Migori, those sides of Migori, Sirari, and Vincent is his name. He says, always at par now, children living with disability, especially girls, are vulnerable to abuses in communities. Ask Cynthia and the team, how are they putting signages to protect them?
Children with disabilities.
Synergies, yes.
Well, you find that there are organizations that deal specifically with children who have disabilities. Like fine, in our office we have an officer called Daniel who specifically deals with the rights of the children with disabilities. And you find that, like I had said, in the social bit that I work in, I work with a lot of children officers who also have provisions for children with disability in schools. And you find that creating awareness of such children in schools, you know, in the community, that these children deserve to go to school.
Right.
You know, educating the schools on creating also provisions for such children, things like ramps, you know, things like classes that these children can feel they're not being put aside with other children, you see? Yeah.
Okay, well, in that case, the only way you proceed with such programs is if you get to see progress out of it. I can tell you're pretty young, probably. You cannot quite pinpoint some of the progresses that have been witnessed. Maybe you could be an example. But are there people who come out with stories that indeed are convincing enough, stories that are, you know, good enough to tell to the world that indeed there's progress on this particular, you know, move? There are notable emergence of girls, I would ask, and young women in spaces of distinct development policy, you know, programming, campaigning, and research bodies in that case, of course, where we can say that, yes, we are here, we are doing this because then we've seen so-and-so progressing in life because they got through this, of course, you know, program.
Yes, I'd say that there are people who have really made it and have become like an inspiration to a lot of the children out there, you know. People in the government, you see, and you see that they have gone beyond looking at their disability and have come out to say that, you know what, you can make it. You know, children, you find, especially in the slums, things like vitiligo, they're not really understood. Things like albinism are still looked upon as curses. You find that children with schizophrenia, it's not really understood in the communities. But there are people in the government, people in the entertainment sector who have gone beyond that particular disability or shortcoming and have become a great inspiration to young children. You find that, like the other day, we had a music competition in Mathare, and there was this very brave young boy, and he was an albino. But beyond his skin, he was like any other child, and he participated, you see. And such children have seen people like Isaac Mora, who don't really sit back and say, you know what, this is, you know. And such people are championing for children with disability, which I feel, they're making,
well, at least we can attest to that. Step towards the right direction, or great directions for that matter. And Immaculate.
Yes.
They would say that child education is a strategic development priority. At what point do we stand in implementing this as a country? Education, do you suppose that then, in as much as we are complaining, when we go down to the roots, of course, in Kenya, in the rural areas, do you suppose then that as a country, we are certainly going towards that direction of totality, or in totality, implementing the factor of education where girls will fully be enrolled in schools?
Let me just start by saying we are in that process. We have not fully achieved keeping all the children, not even girls, in school. And as you know, in schools, it's the safest place for these children, for the school-going children.
Right.
And it has come to our attention, the children that are being abused, they're out of school. When the children are in school, those are what we call safe spaces and safe places to avoid the abuses. The government tried in the free primary education, but we still find challenges of school levies being asked. And in most of the instances in communities, like we have our programs in Busia, in Marsabit, in Moyale, the girl child still misses out of this education, in that you find most of the children, they are enrolled in school, yes, but there's that what we call retention, school retention. And the progress of these children, the academic performance, the transition of the children transiting from the ECD, some drop out at that time. Then we have the primary education, where most of the girls, this is now where we get it rough. Right. In that transition of these girls to secondary school, it's a bit challenging in that the costs of enrolling these children to secondary school or to vocational schools, they're a bit high for these parents. And we're talking of parents who are in the rural areas, where poverty is the main challenge. And these parents, they are not so much empowered to seek for these government resources like the bursaries which are being offered, the loans. So we find there's still much to be done on enrollment of children in school. And also maybe the Ministry of Education should enforce in that the children are retained in school and transition takes place and follow-up of these children. And maybe we acknowledge the NEMIS registration in that it will now track the transition of these children. You are registered in baby class.
Why are we not seeing you in
we are in class 4. Where did you go? That is what we, the steps are still at a snail's pace, but we're expecting we'll reach somewhere.
Why is what very many people would ask Dorcas. And of course, on the legal aspect of it, are there laws that are active enough towards ensuring that children are not staying at home while others are in school? Because I remember just the other day, you know, there was active, of course, crackdown in homes just to find out whether indeed they're girls or they're boys who are at home while others are in school. And indeed, you could see some of these officers getting the children to school. But then, at what point do they follow up, like she rightfully asks? And when you look at some of these developed countries, indeed, education is not an issue. Forget about poverty. You could be poor to the maximum or to the core, but at least the government will ensure that your kid is in school. So as a country, I mean, are we headed towards such a direction? The promises that we get every other day from our leaders, you know, in terms of their manifestos, we're going to make education free and affordable for you. I mean, sincerely speaking, can we bank on this?
Well, maybe if I could start with saying that I think we should create awareness with the parents first to make them aware that taking the girls to school is not only for them to get information or education or knowledge. It also helps them relate with other children, and it will help them with to cope with emotional skills. It will help them to cope with social skills. And also it's going to, when more girls are taken to school, they're going to be at par with the boys, like they're going to compete at the same level field when it comes to the job market. So I think more parents need to be encouraged so that they can take their girls to school, because they not only get information. Other things that come along with going to school is what the girls are going to take. And the Basic Education Amendment Act that was previously signed into law categorically states that every child, like it's a compulsory, every child should be enrolled in school for the lower, the kindergarten and the primary school, like it's compulsory, such that no child should be left at home citing reasons such as school levies or any other excuse. So it's compulsory. So the onus has been put on the parents to make sure, because the education is free. For the primary bit and the secondary bit, it's completely free. Right. So there is no reason that the parent will give to say that my child cannot go to school because of ABCD. So the onus has been put on the parents and also on the government. So no wonder that the officers are going around the homes checking who has gone to school or not. So I think if we are very firm in implementing these policies and legislations, I think we can progress.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, of course, towards the last minutes of the program, I know this is a question I would have asked first, or maybe it's also a question that we've answered indirectly as we have this conversation, but I will ask it again, because that's why some of these parents will, you know, fail to take their kids, because they do not have proper understanding of what is the essence of me taking my child to school, as opposed to me getting so many cows from the rich old man and getting them to get married to them. So Cynthia, starting with you, why should we come out here and save the girl child? I mean, sincerely speaking, what does she come in to offer to the society that cannot be looked down upon, that cannot be overlooked?
Well, as a girl, of course, I think that girls have a lot to offer. We are emotional beings, but we are also very rational. You know, a girl can handle 3 things at the same time. She can be a mom, a girl can be a boss somewhere, she can be a friend, a wife. So you find that when a girl is taken to school, like Dorcas had indicated, this girl does not only get education, this girl learns to survive. You know, when you go to high school, you learn things you did not learn at home. You know, you learn how to cope with other people, you learn to be patient, you learn to take care of yourself and the community. And also I feel that it is very important not to leave the girl behind, because you will look at countries where women are presidents, you know, the queen, you see, such women are very strong. I feel like there's a power that comes with an educated girl.
Okay. Before we even go to England, yeah? I'll for a moment, I'll just look at my mom, you know, who never got a chance probably to be well educated, was not empowered as I am today. And I can tell you that woman holds almost everything in that family like this. Like, if she's absent today, things go haywire. And growing to that level of being a mother, a wife or something of the sort, I can tell you that, sincerely speaking, if I am absent in my home today, things will go, because I've done that technically, and I realized that, whoa, then there's some essence and importance of empowering this girl child. That is my own reason why I think we should save the girl child. Now we're crossing over to you, Immaculate. Why save the girl child?
We have 1,000 reasons to save the girl child. First of all, in our population, the girl child, or the women, or the female gender, it's more than the boy child, in that we have most of the human beings being girls or women. And there's a saying that goes, if you educate a girl, you educate the whole community, the whole society. And practically saying, women have more potential when they're empowered. They only lack that empowerment in terms of education, in terms of support, in terms of economic empowerment. When they're given, we have seen women excel, despite their challenges and their disabilities. And even in our own parliament, we have seen women like the nominated member of in Migori, who is also physically challenged. She's doing great. And I've been in a conference where she was actually saying, give these girls a chance, and you will see.
They will surprise you.
They will surprise you. And also, personally speaking, why you should also give the girl child space or a chance. I am a girl child, a mother, a wife, and a professional program officer. Yes.
I mean,
I
think that we should be speaking for that. Sincerely speaking, see, there are times that we could not hear of women who were legal officers. We could not hear of women who are social workers. We could not hear of women who are project officers. But today we are hearing this, and sincerely speaking, we pride in this. And they're not just there by default, but they're doing great in their very own spaces. So, Dorcas, why should we do that? Why should we get other women to your level today?
First of all, I would start by saying that the moment you give a woman a chance, they are going to participate in the economical growth. Like we are not going to leave this to the men alone. We also want to contribute in our household. We don't want to just sit around. I don't want to say that tending to our children is not enough, but we want to do more. So the more you empower us, we can have our side business and help you with the bills. So one of them is economic growth. The other one would be we want more women in the parliament to make decisions that are fit for women. So, because currently, like in our parliament, we have more, like we're still struggling with the 2/3 gender rule. We're still struggling with it. So if we make an effort of balancing out the women and the men in parliament, the women are going to air out our issues properly.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
And
or you wanted to just
the last bit is when women are empowered, they're given a voice. I know we can be loud sometimes, which is okay. But the louder we are, the more our issues are out there, and people are going to understand what we go through and come up with a solution for
And in a way, you know, this empowerment tames us also. Because then, you know, sometimes when you're up there, you really do not see the essence of being loud, because then you are allowed to speak out your mind. So in this case, no one is going to victimize you or something of the sort. We take a look at Rwanda and the great strides it has made because of the kind of leadership that they have in terms of course, ensuring that they empower the women. I mean, they've done great. We took a look at Ethiopia today. It is going to the right direction. Abiy Ahmed has made changes, you know, incorporating leaders at that level of the leadership. It is amazing. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, all these women in Africa and also abroad, the Queen, like you mentioned, now we're in England. I mean,
maybe also to mention, we're also coming to the 25th anniversary of the Beijing.
Yes.
And we have,
which was so much so focused on the
and we have seen what has come of that conference.
Right.
Yes,
of course, and that is more like it. We'll be having these discussions more and more. We're eagerly waiting for that celebration of Beijing. We're also taking a look at what will play out on the 11th of October as we celebrate the Girl Child's Day, you know, World Girl Child's Day. And we'll keep talking about this every other time, not because we want to come out there and sit on top of the heads, direct translation of men, but technically because equity is important for the growth of the society, the global fraternity at large. Thank you so much, ladies. It was great having you. Seated right next to me is Dorcas Wamboi, who's a legal officer. And then, of course, we have Immaculate Kithika, who's a project officer. ANPPCAN. Wow.
Ancan.
Ancan, yes. The P is a silent.
Yeah.
See, when you said Ancan the first time, I was like looking at this and I was thinking, well, maybe my producer must have done a mistake, but yes, now I understand the P is silent.
The P is silent.
Yes, thank you so much.
African Network for the prevention and protection of children against abuse and neglect.
Amazing, amazing work that you guys are doing. And lastly, Cynthia Katile, social worker, thank you so much for your time this particular morning. We have to say asante sana. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. That's where we get to wrap it up. But then, like we said, it's a conversation that we'll keep having.
Yes.
And to you, the viewer, thank you so much for your feedback. And of course, we continue talking about this more and more. We say kwaheri. We'll get to see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. My name is Linda Alela.